Perfect. Okay, you might have noticed that on your seats we've put a leaflet which actually has the link to the REBA research that has been done in conjunction with ourselves, Wealth at Work. This is my copy, Cost of Living Crisis. I can't afford the print, but as you can see, it's very well worn and there is some great content in the research. So please use the QR code and download the research so that you can actually listen to that in your own time. That's one of the takeaways. Another takeaway, because it did say on the blurb that there were some takeaways. So I would also like to invite you at the end of this session, if you would like to attend a cost of living crisis seminar with Wealth at Work on the 7th of December, please contact me, sarah.long@wealthatwork.co.uk, and you're more than welcome to join one of our sessions. So that will hopefully bring this to life. So let's start with the why. So I just want to check everybody's in the right room. So is this blurb kind of the blurb that you signed up to? Yeah? So this is what we're going to cover, and I've only got 20 minutes. So we're going to kind of rattle through things. But just to start off with, could I ask you to stand up? And I know Debbie did this morning, and I like doing it. If you're able to, if you have a financial wellbeing strategy in place at the moment, or a financial wellbeing programme for your employees in place. Fantastic, brilliant. And are there any of you, could you keep standing just for me for a moment? Are there any of you that are thinking of putting in place a financial wellbeing programme for your employees, colleagues next year? Superb. Okay, you can sit down if, no, you haven't got away that lightly. If you have never run a marathon, so keep standing up if you've run a marathon. Or a half marathon. Come on. Okay, I've spotted you. There is a tenuous link there, you can all take a seat now. Brilliant, thank you. So, I've been in employee benefits share plans for over half of my life. So when we look at this slide, in terms of if we just go back a second, where it's talking about kind of key drivers for change, future trends and priorities, you know, why is this important? Well, for me, because of spending that amount of time of my life, I want to get rid of this slide. I have had enough of showing that financial wellbeing is that awkward piece of the puzzle. I can't wait to be here at REBA again and actually having that as a holistic programme that all of you have put in place, and we can share the success. But at the moment, hands up, those of you who feel comfortable kind of talking about your own financial situation with perhaps colleagues. Yeah, couple of hands, brilliant, that's great. The statistics would show you that 29 million people worry about their money, but they don't talk about it. So we've got a big problem on our hands. Drivers for change. Okay, none of that will be new to any of us in this room because we're all dealing with this day in, day out, whether you're a reward specialist, as we all are in this room, or whether you're an employee in the fantastic companies that are represented here today. But this is what we're all seeing day in, day out. Some other things that are clearly drivers for change is around financial resilience. And you only need to read that statistic there, that 20 million of us can't manage our money and 11.5 million have less than £100 in savings. Clearly, these are key drivers for change. Some more statistics here. You know, I think on that top line, 45% of UK employees report at least one sign of poor mental health affecting their work day. And don't forget, your employees have families. They have people at home, they've got a wider network. And also, that link with mental health, which I think is a really key one, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. Wages are not lasting. Yeah, I'm sure that in the roles that you're in, you will be having colleagues, and I've been talking to people this morning, where colleagues are coming to ask for a pay rise. So how do we give a pay rise without giving a pay rise? And not to be controversial, but I know a lot of companies at the moment are offering, payments to people that are within a certain salary band. Does that actually take into account, like we've just said, that everybody's individual and we don't know their personal circumstances? Employer support. It won't surprise you that you can see how we've moved from 2014 to 2021, where employees are looking to yourselves, not personally, to your companies for help. Where do they go? Who do they turn to for that support in terms of financial wellness? Now, I have lots of friends in the industry, and I'm very grateful to Janet Cooper for her comments here. I'm not going to read this all out because I know you can look at the comments here. But I think if a business case can't be made now, I do not know when one can be made to invest in a financial wellbeing programme. I thought Gabby's quote here was superb in that, now is absolutely the time to walk the talk. And Gabby's put here, which I thought was such a really nice phrase, was that we're all in the same storm, but not all of our boats are as seaworthy as the next, and one size does not fit all. Aviva, my friends at Aviva, again, this is so key, that companies can't take a broad brush approach to financial wellbeing. It needs to be really thought through in terms of what your objectives are, and we'll come to that a little bit later. And also the focus here on data, which aligns with the REBA research, which again we're going to touch on a little bit later. I wish I'd have known. Anybody think back and kind of think, I wish I'd have known about, pension, something like that. So I'm just going to play you a video clip.
Right, well, I joined BT one time ago back in 1971. I think at the time it was on about £12.34 a week, which seems crazy now. Actually, a week, not an hour, £12.34. But I always managed to save a little bit every week. I've always been quite good at saving money. But I only ever thought about banks and building sites on the high street. Investment in stocks and shares was something which rich people did and wasn't in my sort of psyche really at all. Never even thought about stocks and shares. And then the Margaret Thatcher government in the 80s, she started privatising utilities, and so I actually became a shareholder for the first time, especially in my own company, BT. And that sort of opened my eyes a little bit to stocks and shares, but even then I wasn't really confident to actually go and buy anything that hadn't sort of come from one of Margaret Thatcher's privatisations. So when BT introduced me into the Wealth at Work programme, planning retirement, it was quite a nice sort of eye-opener in terms of a whole new area to invest money in. And really, I wish perhaps it'd been done a bit earlier. I think it was done as a financial planning for retirement, but ideally, around about your 21st birthday, I think it'd be nice for somebody to come along and tap you on the shoulder and say, have you thought about the future? And all right, the future looks a long way at 21, but it's never too early to start planning, really. And I thought, if somebody would perhaps take to one side, even perhaps at 30, when you start thinking about families and things like that, and just say, this is what you could do with your money, it would have been really useful.
I can't play the whole of that because we are tight on time today, but hopefully you can see the sentiment there, that if Rob had have known more about his retirement earlier, then you can start planning and you can be more in control. At the last REBA conference, I shared probably overshared my life. So I am that little girl on the left there. And I'm very proud that my dad really made sure that I understood when I got a job what was important. So things like pensions, like critical illness, like death in service cover. And for me, I do look back, and I'm sure that we all do. I wish I'd have known, Yeah, that is me, believe it or not, I know. So you can probably see right in the background, you know, young, fit, healthy, car in the background, that was my first car. I used to have the NatWest pigs. Do you remember Woody, Annabelle? What's the next one? Maxwell? Anyway, and I saved up for my first car. I even remember going and getting the cash from the Leeds Permanent Building Society and buying my car, my first car. I wish I'd have known that I'd have had cancer at 30. And being told that I had an 8% chance of being here at 40 and that I can't have children, I was just telling somebody earlier that I had the pleasure of meeting Judy Murray last night, and she talked about when somebody told her, you can't do something, do you know what? You make it your mission to achieve it. So, would have liked to have known that James would have come 7 weeks early, because then I could have planned better. And that's James. And my daughters. So I've had 3 children. I wish that I'd have known that Sophie's teeth would have cost me £3,000 to get a brace. Yeah? Where do I fund that from? That's a cost that we have to think, how are we going to get that when we look back at the statistics showing that people didn't have, you know, £100 of savings. I also wish that I'd have known about probate, inheritance tax, because I cared for my grandma along with my sister and my mum. And when she passed away, dealing with that was really difficult. So I wish that I'd have had somebody coming into my workplace and letting me know about inheritance tax, probate, so that I didn't have to do it as well as trying to hold down a full-time job. Oversharing, I know, sorry. I've shown this slide here because we all know the link between financial well-being and mental health. And I did check with Debbie that it was okay. So I've been reading Gethin Nadin's book, and it is really good. But it talks about the fact that we've got 20,000 mental health apps that are available to download in the US, but only 5 have been formally vetted and approved by the FDA. And then it continues to tell you that January 2022, new studies continue to question the popularity of digital well-being, with one saying it has failed to find any convincing evidence that many well-being apps significantly help people with common well-being issues. Point of me raising that is not to say that well-being apps are not the right thing to do, but I think we just need to remember that communication is really key, and communicating in different methods to different demographics. So part of that agenda, that blurb that you read about coming today, was around holistic well-being. And I think, you know, those 4 pillars are really important: your physical well-being, mental well-being, and we've seen a massive shift, which is fantastic. And that comes back to that circle at the start, where the financial well-being seems to be that awkward piece, which, if you think about it, that was where mental well-being was a little while ago. People weren't talking about it. Look at, you know, the number of companies out now that have put in place menopause programs. You know, we're really moving in the right direction. So the research findings. So REBA research reached 289 responses, representing around 1 million employees, which is a significant number of colleagues to be reaching out to. I'm not going to go into all of this because I know that you're going to download the research yourselves, but I think, you know, the fact that 70% of those companies say that increasing financial capability and literacy of employees is a priority. And one of the biggest shifts shown is that increase in financial education in the workplace, from currently 39% to an anticipated 72.5%, which kind of represented earlier when you all stood up. So thank you again for participating. What are the key priorities? So I think here, you know, you can see those priorities, and it's thinking about what sort of form the support is going to take. Key risks being addressed. We've all seen, you know, the press that we showed right at the start. None of these will be a surprise to you. It's just thinking about how, as an employer, can we assist people that are going through these turbulent times? What needs to evolve? Yeah, as we've said, we'd love to be launching, running holistic financial wellbeing programs. And especially when 59% of companies see that financial literacy, major financial wellbeing risk, and the data, which came back to that piece that Aviva were talking about. Do you understand the data in terms of the demographics within your companies and what the issues are? Perhaps that might be a survey, it might be getting your mental health ambassadors together, running forums, etc. There are lots of things that we can be doing. 94% hoped that an outcome would be to improve financial well-being. Sources of support, yeah, we have got some fantastic services in place, I'm sure, across all of your companies. I'm sure you're doing some great things in terms of the services and products that you're offering to colleagues to help with all of this financial education. Again, in the blurb, we talked about being fit for purpose. This is where the marathon comes in. Okay, so those of you who said that you'd done a half marathon or a marathon, just put your hand up. Brilliant. Okay, so if you're going to do a marathon or a half marathon, and I've done a few, you do need to plan. And the link here for me is that as somebody who, when I did my first marathon, I probably should have planned a bit more. What was I going to do when I hit the wall at 18 miles? I'd heard that phrase. Did I get it? No, not until I got to 18 miles. And I wished that I'd got a few more things in my kit bag. But for some people, running a marathon or a half marathon can just be a tick box exercise. That's fine. Or it could be that you just want to get round quicker than the minion. Because being overtaken by a minion, yeah, this is actually Vassos in the London Marathon. And then looking at the results, because what you need to do with any kind of programme is not only set those objectives, make sure that they're smart, so specific, measurable, achievable, and all of those good things, and look at the results, see how you can perhaps improve it going forward. Looking familiar? If you've been to one of my sessions before, I think this kind of sums up sometimes. We've got so many brilliant products and services for our colleagues, but actually, can they see the wood for the trees? Sometimes it's about, if you're taking a holistic view, we need to be able to make sure that Tom or Sally or Malik understand what a shopping discount voucher means to them. What does that 5% discount on their weekly shop mean? Communication, what can everybody see? Shout out, please, don't be shy. Anybody? You must be able, yeah? Young girl, yeah, perfect. And an old lady. Can everybody see both? Put your hand up if you're not, yeah, okay. So the young lady, I have been told not to go over that line, by the way. So the young lady's chin is here, and the old lady's scarf is along here. The purpose of showing this is really to highlight that we all have different learning styles. And I say this every time, some of you will not have enjoyed me walking about. Some of you will not have appreciated that kind of dramatic music when we were looking at some of the headlines in the papers earlier. But some of you will have liked that, and some of you it will resonate. So therefore, any programmes that we're putting in place, we need to make sure that we're trying to appeal to everybody's different styles. You had me at hello. Anybody seen this film? Yeah, it kind of sums it up sometimes. Sometimes we have wellbeing strategies in place that are 30 pages when actually one paragraph would actually do the job. Sometimes we over-communicate and we lose a message. So sometimes, perhaps, bear that in mind. And that's really important because actually, when you're communicating, and it's very quiet in here, so this is not going to be lost on you, or it's woken a few of you up. When that penny drops with your colleagues and they kind of go, I've got it, Yeah, I know where I'm going to find that information. I understand how my pension works. I understand my other benefits. Use those testimonials because people listen to the colleagues that they work with. They trust them.